Hey, Dr. T, thank you so much for your work. You helped me a great deal in my conversion. As a father, what advice do you have to keep your children from losing the faith during the teenage years? This is a great question. It's one that I'm very interested in, and I've talked to a lot of dads. I think one thing that you're going to have to do is detach yourself from the deep desire that all parents have, which is my teenagers will never struggle with their faith. They will never commit a mortal sin. And they will always be rock solid from age, I guess, 13 to 25, 30. The reality is there are really holy, good people who aren't faking it, who I know, whose children get off track. And it can be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be pornography, it could be impurity, it could be all kinds of things that no parent ever wants for their child. You have to realize that your own path, your own life has had briar patches and stumbling and problems. And just because someone receives everything they need, and probably I'm not a perfect dad, and I'm not a perfect parent, so that I don't presume that I've given every single thing my children need. But even if you did, the possibility is there. I remember talking to a priest. Actually, I was in confession at the Vatican in Rome. This was maybe in the late 2000 teens. And one of the things I was confessing was just, anxiety or worry about this question that you're talking about. What about your young adult kids or teenagers? And the priest said, well, you raise them in the Catholic faith. You provide them good catechism, good catechesis. You pray with them. You teach them to pray. You be a good example. And then you set them free. And you need to realize that a good majority of their life, in fact, the moment of death is the key moment of whether you go to heaven or hell. If you have grace, sanctifying grace in your soul at the moment of death, you will be saved. If you don't, if you're in mortal sin, you will not be saved. That moment for most parents, of course, some parents do see their children die, but you will likely be dead before any of your children die. Now, some parents have the very tragic situation of seeing their own children die. That's on them. It's free will. Adam and Eve were taught by God. They had infused knowledge. They were constituted in sanctifying and divine grace. They had there was Satan who tempted them with words, but they didn't grow up barraged throughout life with temptations. And they also didn't have concupiscence or original sin. Even they fell into sin. So I would say, be patient. Do not be anxious. And as a father, the most important thing you can do is be legit. Truly pray, truly teach, pray a rosary every night with your kids, catechize your kids, have fun, be present, do your duty, fulfill your office as a husband and father. And then the Holy Ghost has to work with those kids from 18 to 98. That those extra 80 years or so, they have to be guided by those principles. They can reject them or accept them. So you plant the seed, you water it, you fertilize it, and then you set them free. And hopefully your example informs their decision for their whole life. All right, that was a good question. Thanks, Daniel.